taxes on spenders, all the great people in this economy that they're taxing to help pay for all these programs, then end up driving the states into deeper debt and increasing their borrowing costs, which are already through the sky.
Christy, is that something that you would like to see? Medicare for all, free education for everybody, bigger government?
I think I would like to see government invest in people. I mean, listen, I think that when you are faced with a country where healthcare costs are skyrocketing through the roof, people can't actually afford their healthcare, they're not getting good education because they can't afford to go to college, even though the fact is that you can't get a good job anymore if you only have a high school education. Look, government does have to play a role in making these things accessible for people, which plays well for us down the road, because then you have an educated, healthy workforce. So yes, I do think that there's a big role for government to play. I will also say, like
so it sounds
Scott,
like the answer is yes then. Yes. Short answer is yes. You want all of this stuff. How come you don't hear anybody talking about the cost when they bring up these items and free everything for everybody? And Alexandra Cortez is out campaigning. She's trying to get the vote out for her party and these candidates that are in these 4 states tonight. But you don't hear her talking about the $32 trillion that it's going to cost for Medicare for all.
Yeah, can I answer that? I mean, the answer is because you get it back in the long run. And, you know, Scott was saying, I am also a small business owner.
You get $32 trillion.
You sure do. Again, when you have a healthier, wealthier sort of workforce who have the money to be able to give back into, you know, into businesses and into our economy. Again, as a business owner myself, here's what I know. If you pay people well, if you treat them well, if you treat them not like robots, but actually like human beings who have lives, and may sometime need to go care for an ailing parent, or may need to take leave because they just had a baby.
For 3 months, huh?
Then they're going to actually, maybe
3 months.
And pay them, Christy, based on free market rates.
harder for you when they come back. They're going to work harder for you when they come back.
Go ahead, Erin. Do you get $32 trillion back? What do you say?
Well, listen, I think we're going to see this intensely debated during the Democratic primary in next year and the year after. And I don't think Democrats are necessarily going to lurch as far to the left as everyone is saying that they are. And you're seeing that in the states because single payer was actually on the ballot in Colorado a couple years ago. And that state is moving left and it went down. I think you may see some Democratic governors who run maybe call for a public option, but they may not call for single payer.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear a lot more about the cost.
Because you can't afford it. Scott, what do you want to say here?
You can't afford it. And you know, the sad part, Maria, as far as the government's concerned, you have the lender of last resort. You have the ultimate borrower, the ultimate spend, and it's the taxpayer. I mean, you can just keep hitting the taxpayer over and over again. Just keep hitting the button and hitting them for money. And that's why these governments say, oh, it's no problem if we do
Scott,
a special.
That's just not based in reality. I mean, the truth is that when things like the $15 minimum wage are on the ballot, it wins. It brings Democrats to the polls. It also brings independents.
Why can't the corporations decide what to pay?
I mean, sure, everybody wants more money in terms of their paychecks, but if you can't afford it, you'll have to raise taxes.
Or businesses will close
at some point. Look at Venezuela.
The problem again is that if you leave it up to businesses to decide what they're going to pay people, some of them are going to try to skirt the system and pay as little as possible.
And some won't.
There has to be some sort of minimum.
That's right, Maria.
That's why we have a minimum wage.
But then those employees will quit and go get a better job.
That's right. They'll go get a job down the street.
Unfortunately, not everyone can quit and go get a better job. Again, that is why it is the role of government to actually set a minimum standard and say, hey, you know, after, for example, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, you have to limit this to a 40-hour work week. You can't pay people absolutely nothing. We have to agree upon some minimum standards.
Nobody. And if you give them UBI, if you give them universal basic income, guess what, Christy? They don't take the job anyway because they don't have to. So there you go.
Few Democrats are not the case.
There are more job openings than people. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities right now. If you're paying people close to nothing, those people will leave and they will go get a better job.
But some people just can't.
That's a free market.
That's a free market. All right, great debate, guys. And I know this debate's going to continue well beyond the midterms. Thanks very much for weighing in. Is this just an up and down vote, do you think, for President Trump going into the midterms? Is this a referendum on the president being able to get his agenda executed?
I don't think that. I think these special elections are called special elections for a reason. There's only 2 candidates on the ballot. Turnout is a huge issue. In August in Ohio, the week before school starts, turning out that vote is going to be critical. And I will tell you, President Trump would win this district today, and he would win it in November.
That was RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel earlier with me, downplaying any worries that this Ohio special election could have a referendum or be a referendum on President Trump. Is she right? To the Washington Free Beacon's Liz Harrington we go. Liz, what do you think this election's about?
Well, I think it's a very localized race that really doesn't have that much to do with Trump because no one's talking about Trump. When you see Danny O'Connor as the Democrat running here, if he's running close because he's talking about the issues that matter to the district, and he's talking about trade, he's talking about these things, and he's not running on a far left platform, which I think is the really interesting thing, which we've seen when Democrats have been successful in these special elections and these races. They haven't done the resistance, anti-Trump, all these issues. They're actually adopting a lot of Trump's issues, and they're not running away from him. They're adopting the things that he was successful on. So I think these abolish ICE Democrats, the base, the far left, would like to see the Democrats run on. It's not a winning thing that they have going, though, because you see Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania. Danny O'Connor is trying that model, which is moderate and actually kind of a pro-Trump platform.
Well, it's interesting because it may not be a winning issue at the end of the day for the country, the abolish ICE and the extreme left positions, but it certainly is a winning thing for the party. You know, I take a look at people like Ohio Democrat Tim Ryan wants to run for president in 2020, wants to go up against President Trump. I can't even see him getting the nomination from his party because he's not an extremist. He's not saying abolish ICE, and he's doing what you're saying they are doing, and that is going along with a lot of the proposals from the Trump administration.
Right, which is very successful to do with getting moderate voters, but not successful for the Democratic base.
So they won't so he won't even pass muster with his own party then.
Exactly, and I think you see this civil war going on in the Democratic Party that is literally being dragged to the left by socialists like Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, who want to abolish ICE, who want to raise taxes, who want Medicare for all, they want socialist-style health care. That's not where the voters are, and that's not how they're going to win back the white working class that they lost to Trump in 2016.
I totally agree with you. So what happens with these midterm elections from your standpoint?
Well, I think right now it will be telling to see what it all depends on the candidates that the Democrats run. If they run on the far left, if the far left wins out, they're not going to have the blue wave. If they run moderate candidates, they will pick up seats. I mean, historically, they should be very successful when a party, you have unified government with Republicans. It's very likely that they'll lose seats. But if the election is only about Trump and hatred of Trump is the platform, that's not successful. You need a issue-driven wave.
Right.
2006 was the Iraq War. 2010 was
Obamacare.
Obamacare.
Try telling the leadership that. Try telling Tom Perez that. That's all I could say. Good to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in this afternoon. Really appreciate it. Cross-examining top witness Rick Gates right now. Fox News correspondent Peter Doocy live in Alexandria, Virginia with the very latest. Peter.
Maria, the Manafort defense team just got the Mueller team's star witness Rick Gates to admit that at one point he led what they are calling a secret life, which included an extramarital affair and an apartment in London with someone not his wife. It is part of the Manafort defense strategy of presenting Rick Gates to the jury as someone who lies and cannot be trusted. They got him to admit to paying off the full balance of his American Express card with Paul Manafort's money, including personal expenses, without Manafort's knowledge. And they got him to admit that it's possible he submitted personal expenses fraudulently to the Trump inaugural committee. At other points of the cross-exam, defense lawyers rattled off account balances or amounts of transfers, and Gates was not able to say which were authorized and which were embezzled. At one point, the judge, T.S. Ellis, jumped in and said in front of the whole court that Gates was offering inconsistent testimony. So what we're hearing right now from him on the stand is a lot of ums and ahs and I do not recall, which was not the case while he was being questioned by the Mueller team. Maria.
All right, Peter, thank you. Peter Doocy with the latest there. This just in, breaking news, the Trump administration says it will go ahead with another $16 billion in tariffs on Chinese imports near the end of August. Now, that is on top of the $34 billion in tariffs that went into effect back in July. We'll be all over this tomorrow morning. It begins at 6 a.m. Eastern on the Fox Business Network. Join me on Mornings with Maria, 6 to 9. We're also going to follow up on Disney and Tesla tomorrow morning. Stocks are active in the extended hours. Plus, musician Lyle Lovett stopping by my show tomorrow. Join me on the Fox Business Network tomorrow, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being with us. The 5 starts now.
It is. Hey, I'm Greg Gutfeld with Candace Owens, Geraldo, Jesse Waters, and she plays hide and seek in a dollhouse. Dana Perino, The Five. By now, you've all heard about CNN viewers